Dude, when I heard
cool
that,
would that be?
I was like thinking to myself, can you imagine you're sitting there recording this album and looking through the glass and there's Mick Jagger doing Mick Jagger moves.
Not Maroon 5.
No, we're talking moves like
yeah.
Jagger, and it's Jagger.
It's really Jagger.
Yeah. Hey, if you're a fan of the band Living Colour, this video is for you. I remember these guys getting played on MTV like all the time. I think there was a rule that they had to play it every third song or something. It was Cult of Personality.
Yeah, Cult of Personality was just such a huge song, and obviously MTV got behind anything that was hot. They just took it to the next level.
And it was one of those songs that you hear that riff. It reminded me the first time I heard it. It reminded me of House of a Thousand Pleasures. That the guitar hook did.
Yeah,
For some reason, it hit me in a similar way.
Yes, it's so gnarly. It's just awesome. And then obviously the MTV push, and they just looked so different than everything else that was out there.
What was the singer's name? So you know
Corey
them way
Glover.
better. Corey
Glover.
So the first wasn't he wearing like, it looked like a wetsuit or something on the video?
Dude, I don't know if he was
like, it was yellow, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like some. Well, that's the thing, is like they were visually. I mean, think about 1988, man. I mean, when this album broke out, right, May of 1988. You know, you have Guns N' Roses and the whole LA scene in full effect, right? So these guys come out and, you know,
hair metal was in full swing at that point.
Full swing, right? Motley Crue, all that stuff. And then you got these guys with heavy riffs. And like you said, then you see him on MTV and you're like, whoa, this guy's wearing like the body glove.
Yeah, exactly,
like
that.
Boogie board suit or whatever. And just whipping his hair around. He had the long, like, the braids.
It looked so cool.
They just looked so cool.
Yeah, totally. And you know, I think the first time I heard him was actually on MTV. I don't think I heard him on the radio. Like, I saw the video before anything else.
And it's possible. I'm sure MTV just pushed that, and so many people heard or like, wait, what's this? So, because, you know, as we were getting ready, I mean, this is an eclectic album. There's so much that comes out of this. So, but Cult of Personality.
And that song, and even to this day, I think it's just one of those tunes that just kind of still around. And, you know, they did something really interesting with it that not a lot of bands do. And it's they get to the chorus fast. And what I mean by that is, the song starts out, look in my eyes, what do you see? Cult of Personality. That is the chorus. I mean, he sings Cult of Personality in the chorus just like that. Right. And so it's a lost art where there were groups way back when that had figured that out, where you go, when the song starts, get into the chorus immediately.
Well, I mean, right? Like the Beatles would have some of that, but it's a songwriting skill, right? But I think one of the things that makes these guys stand out to me is, and particularly that song, actually a lot of their songs, is the fact that they're catchy. So the riff, like you said, super heavy, super hard, not something you'd go, oh, I'm going to hum along to that, much less the solo that Vernon plays all over the top of that. Yeah. Like, you're going to go, but the chorus, Cult of Personality, is just so catchy. How can you not? And then all the references and the singing, it's a great song, and that's why, in my opinion, that's why it stands the test of time.
And when you have a chorus like that, compare it to other things that were going on at the time. You have all these different kind of 80s metal things that although they were good tunes, they weren't introducing literary phrases like Cult of Personality. Right. So the first time I ever even heard that phrase, you know, I would have been, I don't know how old I would have been at the time, but I heard the words and I go, what is cult? I've never heard that phrase before.
Yeah, Cult of Personality.
Yeah, what does this mean? And so it was really cool that way, because there was this little bit, the song felt intelligent in some way, where so many other things at the time didn't have that.
Right. And the other part is, remember, like, it has the vocal track or like the historic speeches of like
Yep.
JFK, Malcolm X.
Ask not what your country.
Yeah,
Dun, dun,
all
dun.
of that
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, that was kind of newer, fresh. It's not like bands that didn't talk about political stuff, but it's just the way it's presented, like it's kind of a harder rock image. And the timing of it was great and catchy. Like, so you have this great package. So, it's just good.
Yeah, it was amazing. The cover, I didn't know what to do with this, and I still don't know what to do with this. It's really interesting. I always thought this was kind of, obviously there's somebody's head there, and I wondered if, with all the things coming off, if that would, it resembles what he looked like in the video when he was flipping his hair around. Because instead of just big hair flying around, it's the braids flying around,
right.
which had its own, I don't know, weird coolness to it. And then they have the interesting font there with living color, vivid, and kind of the bold, kind of aerial.
The way I've always looked at it, because I'm like, what does this mean? But to me, I just learned to just kind of go, that's kind of just almost like modern art. I feel like if this was painted on the side of a subway car or on the side of a building, I'd be like, that's a cool mural. Yes. And I just kind of left it at that,
But there was something really interesting about it, though, too. Because when you look, first of all, it says Vivid right there, which is the name of the album, obviously. But if you notice around here, you'll see all these little kind of pixelated, what basically looks like really basic computer art.
Sure.
And what's cool about that to me is back in '88, I mean, this is what Commodore 64 time period. I mean, the Apple, one of the Apples. I mean, there was different Apples out at that point, but Apple was making. You were able to do artwork on those old computers back then.
Paint shop.
Well, yeah, it was that stuff. I actually had one. The reason I said Commodore 64 is I had one. We had this little tablet, and you could take this little pencil thing, and this is the kind of stuff you'd create. But it was interesting in that way because they added all these little weird computer generated, like somebody had drawn these on, and then all these almost like registration marks with all the colors on the bottom. I mean, like I said, I don't comprehend what the point is, if there even is a point. And getting to your point, there's a little bit of just deal with it. Whatever it is, it says go, and it's got this little rocket ship that's again that's drawn in that computer thing. Got these fingers with these things tied around it. I mean, it's chaos and just kind of interesting in the presentation, and you just go with it.
I think it's, in a way, isn't it kind of indicative of the album?
Well, okay, and you make a great point. Let's flip it over and talk about this for a second. Because this is the thing I started saying to you before we did this. There are elements of this album that I think are like great. My problem with it, though, is that it feels like it doesn't know what it is. Sure. And some people think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
For me, I get a little bit confused in the whole thing. Like, I don't know what is going on here. So that's my... Well,
it's... I remember living in Hawaii, and we were in Chinatown, and we're like, and the guy's like, hey, today's Taco Tuesday. And you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. I'm in Chinatown, Honolulu, and today's Taco Tuesday.
Hawaii in Chinatown, where they're serving you Mexican food.
I mean, we ended up being regulars on Taco Tuesday, but the funny part about it is it kind of messes with your head. And I think, when you put on a Judas Priest album, when you put on Van Halen, there's a thread, and you're like, that's what that is. When you
even when Van Halen steps out of the thread, it's still them. It's still in it. Even when they do Happy Trails, even though that's not. It still is.
Right.
It's just all part of this is the vibe of Van Halen.
Correct. And I think Vivid as an album is kind of this eclectic ensemble of just awesome music. It is heavy. It is catchy. It is cool. It's funky. Funny vibe is funny. Glamour Boys is funny. It's like tongue in cheek. It's like there is no like common thread other than it's just fun and cool. And I think that gave him the appeal. And if you, like we talked about the Cult of Personality MTV, when Glamour Boys, that video's just funny. And it's a catchy, the guitar line in there is, whatever, calypso kind of sounding. Like, dude, the guy was just shredding all over Cult of Personality. And now you got this laid back, almost like island groove. A couple songs earlier, you got on Funny Vibe, you got Chuck D and Flavor Flav throwing there, rapping in. I mean, but I guess that's kind of what makes him cool. And I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I get what you're saying. The common thread is like, were they just kind of feeling it out? Or is this who they are? Is that they're bringing a lot of different flavor, not to, piggyback on the Flavor Flav part. But they're bringing an eclectic flavor to this whole mix and mashing it up and making it living color.
Cult of Personality, obviously, like just this epic tune. Everybody's heard it. It still is great even today. I thought, although the album had a lot of great stuff on it, I don't know. I struggled with a lot of the stuff on here. And part of it, like this second song, I Want to Know, I didn't like that song at all.
Sure.
And unfortunately, people actually think about these albums, the pacing. I thought if there was a misstep on this album, it was putting that song second. Yeah, because I started listening to this when I knew we were going to be doing this, because those people that watch this channel actually watched when this came in and I opened it up, because I'd never owned it on vinyl. And so then I knew we were going to talk about it, so I started listening to it in the mornings when I was working out and thinking about it. And every time I'd start it over and I'd go to it, I'm like, dang, I get into that second song and I just go, and it just stops me. Like, I don't like this tune. And so the pacing, I think, on this thing wasn't done really well, in my opinion.
Then again, I mean, how can you follow up an epic track like Cult of Personality, right? No matter what. Although the next track, Middleman, is more of a straightforward rocker.
Right. It would have made more sense to take that tune, which I think is one of the weakest songs on the album, and put it way over there.
Yeah.
Put it last. Because it's just not. Because in my opinion, it's just not a great tune. But so a couple of things about this, at least that jumped out to me. And I didn't notice this. I did not know this until the record came in here, and I just started studying it and looking over the thing, and I saw that right there, Mick Jagger. Why didn't I ever know that Mick Jagger was involved with this? And I'm going to read something to you in just a second that talks a little bit about that I thought was pretty fascinating. I didn't know that Mick Jagger was involved, but he published, or he produced a bunch of the stuff on here.
It's awesome. And I can't remember, it's been so long, I can't remember. Although I do remember they opened up for Rolling Stones, I think it was a Steel Wheels tour in like the early 90s, and Living Colour opened up for them. And I know we got a lot of people in Britain that are like, that watch the channel. But I left after Living Colour, and I was just like, this is why I'm here. The Stones are the Stones, but I'm like, I'm going to beat the traffic.
Really? So you went to see that concert, you saw them and then bailed.
Yeah, I know.
That is wild, man.
I was just like, I've seen more footage of the Stones over the years, and really, to me, the Stones are the classic 60s Stones, right? Steel Wheels, I'm like, okay, you guys are out the pasture. You guys are already on the back end. I mean,
which is funny to think about in the late 80s. In late 80s, because still going. That's like, 50, 70 years ago?
Was it my best move? I don't know.
That's funny.
But the reality is, I wanted to see Living Colour, and I didn't have the best seats. I was, there was quite a few people.
Because the Stones always played like
big, it was like huge, stadiums,
ginormous places,
and especially in those days, it was all the mega.
Yeah.
If you're not doing 70,000 in a sitting, why?
I'm going to just watch TV tonight. I'm not going to go. Yeah. So anyway, Desperate People is a cool tune. So this one, Open Letter to a Landlord, the first time I heard that song, I don't know why, but it sounded like they were doing a cover. Because it was another one that didn't fit into the album, and yet it had this beautiful melody.
Yeah.
It's got a really nice melody line. And there was something, when I first heard it, just thought, oh, this must be a cover of theirs or something, because it doesn't sound like anything else on the rest of this album at all.
Again,
but really that song probably is the most thoughtful.
Dude, it's definitely a thinking man's.
It's a great tune, and it's got a beautiful melody line to it.
You would have thought like Dylan or Bono or somebody.
It's that kind of quality. That's why, to me, when I heard it, I just thought, wow, man, where are we going? And now they're throwing this one in, and it felt like it couldn't have even been their song. And then you move to side 2, and immediately,
different vibe.
Funny really vibe. Funny vibe. And then you listen to the lyrics of that, and it's kind of. Yeah. It's kind of funny in and of itself, the whole message behind that song. And then, of course, like you said, you got Flavor Flav in there, you got Chuck D, and, the other time that they did, which was after this, the other time they got involved with a hard rock band, those two, was when they went off with Anthrax and did one of the coolest songs in the history of creation. Man, that was awesome. That was so – Chuck D was – dude. Okay, anyway. Then the rest of the album, Glamour Boys, of course, got really popular.
Yeah.
That was huge. There was one of these where the guitar playing, it was one of these two, where the guitar playing was pretty brutal. And it was kind of interesting when you look at him, Vernon Reid as a guitar player, because it was so, because he, even though it had a little bit of a, I don't know, if you were to take Vinnie Vincent and Yngwie Malmsteen and
mash them up,
you'd get some sort of a Vernon Reid thing, I think. It was just so, and watching him play too on those videos, the way he held his guitar.
His guitar's really high.
It was just different. And the dude, and you can't knock him. Whatever he was doing was cool. I mean, he came up with the riff for Cult of Personality, and then you ended up having this epic song. As I recall, I saw an interview with him, and I think they put that whole song together in like no time. Had this riff, song, boom, done, and then you have one of the greatest tunes.
How some of those things kind of come together.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of interviews with Vernon, and he's just such a cool, soft-spoken. You would think you came up with Cult of Personality. Like, it just doesn't matter. But the guy is just so embedded into like music and culture and just music. The guy is brilliant and just an amazing player. And his technique and stuff and how he plays is just, because you're right. Because he's like, you think, oh my God, this guy's like flying out of control, but how does that fit? Like, I remember listening to the solos and I'm going, how does that even work? But you're all over the place.
All of a sudden it's just chaos in the middle of this thing.
But it sounds awesome.
But it was awesome.
And then when he plays live, it's pretty damn close. It's like, how are you doing that? It's great.
So, okay, before we, because I have like we do a lot of times, I have a really cool article here that I'll read you that talks specifically to Vernon Reid, and that's why I started bringing him up. But I want you to see if you can see something on here.
All right.
So this record, if you've never seen it, here it is, Living Color, epic. This one has an etching in the you've seen these before.
Yeah.
So this one has one. See if you can find it on there. This one's very, very light. It's very hard to see because it's not, because some of them you see it's kind of etched in pretty deep. This is etched in very, very softly, so it's hard to see it. But it has one. So on Def Leppard, Pyromania, for example, on side A it says if you're going to be a bear, and if you flip it over, and the other side says be a grizzly. And there's a lot of records that do this.
What it says, it says.
I can read it too, but it's actually a quote from Moses from the Ten Commandments.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So here it is. So let it be written. You know what it says on the other side?
No.
Well, it's from if you've ever seen the Ten Commandments, there's that Yul Brynner always says this thing. He goes, so let it be written, so let it be done. And anyway, so it says, so let it be done on the other side.
Nice.
So it says, so let it be written on side A, so let it be done on side B. And if you don't know what we're talking about, on a lot of records, what happens, they'll put numbers and things in here that will identify which printing it was, where it was pressed, that kind of thing. And a lot of times what they'll do is somebody will just kind of etch in just some words. And in this case, on side A, it says, so let it be written. And on side B, it says, so let it be done.
So when I got into these guys, I was already these were one of my first, like, full on. I'm changing all, going to CD 100%. So Vivid was one of my first CDs, and then the next one, Time's Up, was also, and then Stained, which I think was like their third or fourth one, because I think they had an EP that came out, was like all colored. Like everything was like, it was trippy, but it was cool. Like, they've done cool stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly. It's all really
it's
cool.
It's within their wheelhouse, right?
When I saw all this that was going around the side, that's when I looked at that and I thought, I bet you
there's something on there.
That they etched something, because there's just so much. There's so many fun little things to look at, and maybe one of these days I actually maybe need to make a video where we just kind of go through and pick out all these little things.
There's a lot packaged,
which is such
here.
a cool. That's such
and
a
for
great
your
picture.
debut album, right?
Yeah.
All the lyrics on the backside.
This is one of the things that made records so much fun. It's all the extra stuff. Hang on just a second, this will be really quick. With hundreds of videos on our channel now, we've made playlists to make it easy for you to find whatever the thing is that you're interested in. We have a playlist with all of our Rush videos, Kiss, Led Zeppelin, Van Halen. We have categories like 80s metal and even our popular magazine flip-throughs, where we go through page by page with Circus Magazine, Hit Parader, and others, all in 4K resolution. You'll find it all organized and ready to explore. Just click the playlist tab on our channel's homepage. All right, back to the video. The pictures, the graphics, all the weird text that you find around, the etching on the inside of the record, the cool graphics here, and then when you'd flip it over, if you had the record, you'd sit here and you'd study each one of these pictures, and then all the stuff that they'd put around it. It was just, it was so much fun, man. Records were so great that way. So, anyway, it was so awesome. So what I've got here that I want to share with you that I think you're going to dig. This is in the headline here. I just started doing some searches to find something, and I specifically was searching for Vernon Reid because I was thinking about him, the guitar hooks, what have you, and I knew we were going to be talking, and I thought it'd be interesting to see if there was anything where they spoke to him specifically. And this one, they do talk to him directly, and you can see in the graphic there. It looks like it was taken probably at the same time that this picture in the album was taken.
Sure.
Just some photo shoot. Living Color featuring from left, Muzz Skillings, Corey Glover, Vernon Reid, and Will Calhoun performs at the Cotton Club on Saturday. Okay, now check this out. It's kind of the article's a little longer, but there's a lot of really interesting stuff in here. So it's called Living Color Knows It's Only Rock and Roll But Likes It. So immediately I heard that title, that headline, and I'm like, okay, they're obviously going to make reference to Mick Jagger in this article because that's an old Rolling Stones tune. We know it's only rock and roll, but I like it. So, okay, here we go. Vocalist Corey Glover of Living Color can be excused for letting his attention wander during the recording of the band's Vivid album. He was distracted by the prancing and dancing of a producer, Mick Jagger. This is so cool. Listen to this, dude. Listen to this. Quote, "Watching him was kind of interesting," Glover said during a telephone interview before a show in Durham, North Carolina. "You watch this man on TV and see his signature moves, then he's doing them in the control room while you're recording." Dude, when I heard that, I was like thinking to myself, can you imagine you're sitting there recording this album and looking through the glass and there's Mick Jagger doing Mick Jagger moves.
Right. Not Maroon 5.
No, we're talking moves like Jagger, and it's Jagger.
It's really Jagger.
Yeah, I thought, dude, that is so amazing to read that.
Yeah,
okay,
that's incredible.
Let's see. It was like he really liked what we were doing. He did improve some things, but it wasn't like he said, "I'm a star, let's do this." It was just that he had the wisdom of a veteran. It worked out really well, unquote.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, it is like Mick Jagger just kind of got it. Made some suggestions, I'm an elder statesman in this thing. Let me help you out.
Been doing this a little bit.
Yeah. Been around.
Been doing this a little bit.
Exactly. The Recording Studio Association with Jagger, who had used color guitarist Vernon Reid on his Primitive Cool solo album. And I didn't know that. That's the connection. That's how he met these guys, because he'd used them. Okay. Was not the only benefit for the New York City-based rock quartet. The publicity helped the band get its recording contract with Epic CBS Records. Yeah. I mean, imagine, Mick Jagger's our buddy and he likes us and he wants to produce this. I think any record company in the world would be like, okay.
Sign right here.
Sign this napkin, whatever, sign something. Quote, I played a little on his album, and he came to hear our band and check us out, Reid said. He asked if we had a deal, and we said we didn't. And he asked if he could produce a couple of songs, unquote. In addition to producing 2 tracks on the album, Glamour Boys and Which Way to America, Jagger also sang background vocals on Glamour Boys. I didn't know that.
Oh, that's cool.
And played harmonica on Broken Hearts. His attitude, as well as his contributions, thoroughly impressed the band. He wasn't condescending at all, and if he decides he really wants to be a producer, he can do it, Reid said. The link with the voice of the Rolling Stones clearly has elevated the band's profile during a month-long tour that hits Atlanta's Cotton Club on Saturday night. Color also is benefiting from the fact that all black rock and roll bands on major labels have been rare. And that's actually the truth. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I saw him on MTV and you hear this music, and it was in some ways a novelty. Like I'd never seen, this is a totally new thing. It's like when's the last time you saw something like that? I mean, Hendrix, you just
that's
don't.
always the reference.
Yeah, you just go back to that. But you don't, you have Thin Lizzy. I mean, he was
Irish,
and it was kind of hard rock, sort of, and you.
I love Thin Lizzy, but yes,
and I love Thin Lizzy, but you just anyway. So the point was, it was kind of a different thing.
You didn't have 4 black guys rocking.
Not even in Thin Lizzy.
No.
So this was a rare thing. Actually, Jimi Hendrix's Experience wasn't.
Yeah,
it was just Jimmy. So okay.
It made it a novel. In a sense, made it a novelty at the time, for sure.
Yeah, so Glover and Reid addressed that situation when they first met in '84, about 18 months before they formed Living Colour with bassists Muzz Skillings and William Calhoun. After hearing Glover sing Happy Birthday to a girlfriend at a party, Reid introduced himself. Dude, I love this story. You imagine? He hears him singing Happy Birthday. I'm like, hey, you're a good singer. Singing Happy Birthday.
Right.
Okay, quote, he said he liked my voice and we had a long conversation about trying to start a band, Glover said. We had the same trite conversation most black folks have when they want to play rock and roll. How are you going to start a band when nobody wants to hear about it? Unquote. They exchanged telephone numbers and went their separate ways. Glover was working in TV commercials and had a minor role in the film Platoon.
I did know that.
You did know that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He's the one that, he's got a minor role. Because Charlie Sheen obviously is the main character, but he's the one that's in the bunker. And I remember, I think he stabs his leg.
No way, really? I don't remember this. Injury. Okay, I have to go. It's been
I saw it
forever.
In high school. Yeah, I mean, it's been forever, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You're in a movie.
Yeah, especially that one.
Epic movie.
That was, classic. And Reid was playing with jazz and pop musicians such as Roland Shannon Jackson and Kashif. Quote, I lost his number, but then he called me, Glover said. It turned out we lived about 4 blocks apart. Reid played for Glover some tapes he had made, and they reconfirmed the idea of working together. 2 weeks later, Reid phoned to tell Glover he had landed booking for the band at New York City's CBGB's club. Quote, we rehearsed a week, played the show, and that's how it got started, Glover says.
I mean, CBGB, man. That's infamous for
Even
Blondie.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. Blondie, Talking Heads, which if you haven't seen, a great CBGB reference movie is one with, it's just called CBGB's, I think, and it's got, who's the guy that plays the bad dude on Die Hard? Alan Rickman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he plays the CBGB owner. And it's awesome. It's really good. It's on like Hulu or something like that. Musical reference for anybody who wants to check it out. Sweet. It's actually pretty cool.
I'd like to see that. That's cool. After its debut in '85, Living Colour aroused some media and record company interest with subsequent live performances in New York City while polishing many of the songs on Vivid. Basic rock is the album's foundation, but Reid is a highly talented guitarist capable of dipping into many pop music genres and shifting from crashing chords to swirling melodies. Quote, I started late. I was about 15 and I'm 29 now, Reid said. I studied for about a hot minute at the Brooklyn Conservatory of Music after graduating from a Catholic high school, and then decided I wanted to become a full-time musician, unquote. A native of London, England, Reid grew up in New York City after his West Indian parents settled in the United States.
That's interesting. I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Glover, 24, is a lifelong resident of Oakdale on Long Island. I'm guessing you know what that is.
I know where that is.
Yeah, I don't. Okay. Who started working as an actor on stage in commercials when he was 15. The songs they write individually and together reflect their backgrounds and interests, and the mix is an interesting one. The lead song is Cult of Personality, a wry look at the functions of charisma that employs the recorded voices of Malcolm X, President John F. Kennedy, like we were just saying a little bit ago, to help make the point that personality sells everything from political ideas to exploitation. The album ends with Which Way to America, in which Glover sings, "Where is my picket fence, my long, tall glass of lemonade? Where is my VCR, my stereo, my TV show? I want to know how to get to America." Sandwiched between is an open letter to a landlord, an account of desperate people, and the shattered dreams of broken hearts. The one cover song on Vivid is Memories Can't Wait, a song from the Talking Heads catalog. I didn't know that.
I vaguely remember that. But that's, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I liked that. No, it was one of those things where I had never even. I mean, it's funny because on this channel I've talked a lot about that. There's so many like, for example, the first time I heard Diver Down, I got that when I was 12, 11, and half that album's cover tunes I didn't know. Other than the Roy Orbison song, "Pretty Woman." I thought the rest of it was just Van Halen music, and it isn't until many, many years later that you hear a song on the radio and you go, Wait a minute. That was Van Halen. Nope. That's 20 years prior to Van Halen.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, Diver Down was all pretty much covered.
There's a ton of them on there. But similar to this, I just didn't know. I like that Memories Can't Wait because of its idea of a party in the mind that never stops. And I thought the music could be adapted toward sort of a power trio kind of sound, Reid said. Both Reid and Glover say they are extremely pleased with the album and the response they have received from crowds outside New York City. Quote, "It's been nice," Glover says, noting that the final test will be how well the album sells and how it is received by radio stations. And then it says, "Living Color with opening act Rockin' Bones." You ever heard of them?
Nope.
Okay. I'm just wondering, you're the New York guy. And if they're from New York, maybe it was somebody from New York.
Maybe no.
10 p.m. Saturday, $6 Cotton Club. So, well, actually, this was in Atlanta, it looks like. I didn't even say where this was from. This is the Atlanta Constitution.
What's the date of the article?
Sorry, I didn't even tell you. June 17th, 1988. So this is like a month after the album comes out, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's barely out.
This is brand new stuff.
Which makes it interesting. I mean, he's saying we'll see how the album does. Well, the album just crushed it.
Yeah.
Right? It was super well received. Cult of Personality hadn't really broke because it was one of those albums that took a while and then all of a sudden it gained the buzz and then it took off. Because, I mean, they won a Grammy for Cult of Personality in 1990.
Really? Was it that late?
Yeah.
Was that late afterwards?
I believe so. I know they won a Grammy for the song, and I know they won a Grammy for
it definitely wasn't
sophomore
88.
album.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
So
it would have had to have been later for sure.
It's kind of like one of these slow burns, which in a way, that's kind of how a couple great albums of that era took. Like Appetite for Destruction was a slow burn. And then Sweet Child of Mine just put them over the top.
And then all of a sudden, the one song comes out, and then the whole world goes
bonkers over.
What is this? Yeah. And then
this is the best.
Multi-platinum. And this ended up selling a couple million copies, right? Didn't we say that?
Yeah.
It was like...
Yeah, I want to say it was double platinum.
Yeah. Anyway, sure it definitely reached that stage.
I mean, when you have a song that's 40 years old practically... 35 years old, and it's still on the radio. It's still iconic.
Yeah, and getting back to something we said earlier, when you look at the world of hard rock around that time, when you had the battle of who can sing higher than everybody else, I mean, that's what it felt like at the time. You remember this.
For sure.
I mean, didn't we finally get to the point you have Steelheart and he sounds like a whistle? I mean, it was like, how do we just get higher and higher? And he was not that. He came in there with just this strong, just powerful, amazing voice.
Yeah.
And he had this cool presence, the crazy cool hair, and then the outfit.
Yeah, and a colorful
which also
outfit.
didn't look like anything else at the time.
I mean, come on. You see... I was going to say, can you see Vince Neil walking out in like a body armor?
Especially now.
Like,
that's hilarious, man.
I mean, think about it. No, everything was like
John Bon
leather
Jovi.
and chains.
Did you see him in it?
Ripped up clothes, a lot of denim, and then surf gear.
Spandex.
Yeah,
and then,
I mean, these
guys walk out and...
I mean, they were trendy. They were cool. They were glamour boys, man.
We've been talking about albums we needed to do. You'd suggested this a couple months ago, so I ordered it. The people who follow this channel saw the day that I took it out.
You guys like the fact that I suggested, and we're doing it because it is. Yeah. I think it's an iconic album that stands out in that time period, and with what a great song. I mean, they're out touring right now. They're going to play that Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Mexico thing that's going on at the end of the year. They're out, playing on the road, and I see them, I follow them, because they made an impact on me, and I just thought they were so different and so cool, and it all started here with this album, so why not cover it, right? Yeah,
no, I'm glad you made the suggestion. And there's so much stuff around this album, different articles, and even diving into some of these songs. We'll talk about this album some more, because there was a lot of different angles and different ways to look at this, and so many, and just individual songs. Like I said, Open Letter to a Landlord, and then Funny Vibe. I mean, each one of these tunes, each one of these songs was so unique that it deserves digging into each one of them a little bit more.
All of those that you just mentioned were all singles, which back in the day, I mean, if you got one or two singles out of your album, you're like, woo!
If you can do more than one, so people can't call you a one-hit wonder.
Right.
If you can just get that second one, and these guys had quite a few tunes.
4 or 5 off of this, so you're winning.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
That's definitely a great thing. And I think that's also gave it the longevity, the legs for them to tour on and do all that and create that following. Dude, I remember I had a Living Color shirt that I bought at that.
Really?
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. I'd wear it every time I'd go to the beach because it was colorful. Go good with my 80s swim trunks of the time.
That's awesome.
When, SPF 10 was like, or anything above, you didn't put SPF anything.
That was sexy Gary way back then.
Tan. I don't know about sexy, but tan. Yes.
Hey, thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. If you remember this album, we'd love to hear from you. Put some comments down there about what your favorite song was. What do you remember about when this came out? And how did this sit for you in the rest of the world of music that you were listening to at the time? So we'd love to get your comments on that. Please follow the channel if you're not following the channel already. Like the video. And of course, if you like this stuff, there's a really good chance you know other people that like it. And so we encourage you, please share this on your Facebook page, Twitter, email it to people, whatever. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, have yourself
Pay it forward, man.
Fantastic day.